Welcome to Leen on Kindness with Eileen Tucker Cosby, a podcast dedicated to spreading kindness, fostering empathy, and eliminating hate, one story at a time. Well, hi, Shawn.
Hello, Eileen.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm so excited that you're here. And before we get started, I have to do something important that I always forget to do. And that is, of course, to welcome our audience to Leen on Kindness, which is a podcast that focuses on us really working on being more intentionally kind and eliminating hate, and for them to like and subscribe so that we can build this thing and make a positive difference in the world. So thank you for understanding that I need to do that first so that I don't forget. Okay, so like and prescribe, audience. All right. I want to welcome someone that I met accidentally while I was getting my clothes altered by his most amazing daughter.
Thank you.
I love that girl. So Abigail, if you're listening, I love you, dear. And I met her father while I was there, and one thing led to another. And I told him that I was writing a book. And you all know that I have written a book called Yes, There Are Black People in Utah, and No, I'm Not a Mormon. And the book is about my journey to belonging in 1960s and 70s Utah, and just the power of kindness. Some tough times, but it was the kindness that really ultimately mattered. And so I'm telling you about this, Shawn, and Shawn says, "Oh, I'm from Utah." What? And he began to share with me some of his experiences. And not only was he from Utah, but he was a Mormon.
Yes.
There's you were. So, but let me just tell you a little bit about Shawn. He is the owner of a wonderful place in Anthem, Arizona called Blind Bear. So if you need anything done with your windows, you need to get in touch with Shawn. Again, that's Blind Bear. He's married with 4 grown children, one of them the most amazing Abigail. And as I said, he was raised a devout member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So those are some of the things we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Shawn.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Very
you.
happy to be here.
Well, thank you. So Shawn, I think you said that you were raised in California.
Well, born in California, Sierra Madre, and moved to Utah when I was very young.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your parents, devout members of the LDS Church, I'm assuming.
Dad a convert, mom born into it.
Okay, your dad was a convert, your mother born into it. Do you know about how far back she goes? Is she a pioneer stock, or?
Oh, yes.
She goes way, way back.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm imagining that they were, there was no doubt that this was how they were going to raise you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was no question.
No question. And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
Oh, my goodness. I come from a large family. 8.
Oh, wow.
8 children.
8.
6 boys, 2 girls.
All pretty close together? And
we definitely were closer together when we were younger.
Mm-hmm. But as far as age goes, was it?
Yes. So, yeah, I think about actually, my 2 oldest brothers are the same age for 1 month.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, close together.
My goodness, that is close together.
Yeah.
Very common in the LDS faith to have large families.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so they were following everything to the letter of the law when it came to that, no doubt.
Go forth and replenish the earth.
That's correct. That is correct, yes. Okay, mom and dad were not messing around.
No, they weren't.
And so, well, maybe they were. They had 8 kids, but. So you were raised in what city in Utah?
So small amount of time spent out in Salt Lake City, and then we landed in West Bountiful, Utah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was raised in Layton, born in Ogden, raised in Layton. And Layton was right underneath the Air Force Base, so we were blessed enough to have some diversity. When you got outside of Layton, there was Kaysville, there was Farmington, and then there was Bountiful, where you're from. Not a black or brown face from that point to Bountiful.
No. How did you sneak into the bubble?
I didn't sneak in. We would just drive right past it. But I will tell you this. I did dream of one day building a home right in the middle of Bountiful just because there were no black people there and just to see what would happen. But
that had been a beautiful thing.
That would have been a beautiful thing. Yes. I will say I was recently in Bountiful, and I was at an ice cream store, and there were 2 diverse people working there of Hispanic descent. So I was pretty excited about that, to see that maybe there's been a little bit of growth in that area.
There has absolutely been change in that area for sure.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good. All right. So your parents are raising you in Utah. And what do you remember? What are some of the fun things that you remember about your childhood?
Oh, just small town life really back then. I mean, 4th of July parades. It was very simplistic
Mm-hmm.
for myself, as far as I don't know, coming from a large family, there was a lot of times I had to find ways to entertain myself
Mm-hmm.
when I was young.
Right.
And so it really was the simple things. I mean, the smell of spring in the air when you would get up in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Life was pretty easy.
Pretty
Life
simple.
was, yeah,
Yeah.
not a whole lot
And I'll tell you
happening.
what, the summers in Utah, you cannot beat them. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then in your church, I'm sure that you were involved with activities. You had things to do with a lot of kids at church.
We most certainly, I really enjoyed scouting.
Mhm.
I had incredible scout leaders. They, let's just say they didn't stay inside the box with their thinking,
Mm.
and some of the things that we had an opportunity to do weren't. They didn't fall under the lines of what we should be doing. As scouts, we really stepped outside the lines. I mean, we did some really fun things with these guys. I remember because we had to raise our own funds to do activities.
Mhm.
I remember getting up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, because my one scoutmaster, he ran a paper route and also collected papers. Excuse me. And I would get up really early with him and drive around to load up recycled papers so that we could make money for our trips and stuff. And it would just be me and my scout leader, Russ Thompson,
Oh,
and listening to Cream at 3:30 in the morning,
what?
driving around, loading papers and singing and having a blast. So yeah.
Listening to rock music, huh?
Oh yeah, he was great.
That's fun. That is fun. Were your brothers also involved in Scouts?
No, actually, they. I don't know. I guess I fell into a pretty good time right there. As far as I really enjoyed scouting, and I took it all the way to Eagle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that in my research and from what I know, a lot of LDS boys get their Eagle Scout, and that really is, I think, just commendable.
Yeah.
That is something, because that's quite an accomplishment to be able to do that. So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So as you were moving forth and getting older and moving on, I recall you mentioning something about your father's work. What did he do for a living?
Oh goodness. So we did commercial heating and air conditioning, and he started out building just homes and stuff, and then quickly got into commercial, and we built chapels and temples.
You had a contract with the church to build their chapels and temples.
Well, not necessarily just, I mean, you had to go out and get a bid. You
Okay.
had to bid on the projects, but yes, eventually it went to a preferred contractors list. You had to get a certain grade with the type of work you were doing in order to be able to bid on their work. But yeah, I built so many buildings for the Mormons that I remodeled my own work later in life and tore out things that I installed when I was really young.
Oh my goodness. So about how many chapels and temples would you say that you built? And what, across the United States and the western part of the states?
All over the place, from Washington to the islands. I even spent a lot of time over in Hawaii. Yeah, all over.
So you were doing this as a young child, building these temples and chapels with your father?
Let's just say that OSHA really wasn't paying attention back then. So
Oh my goodness.
the story I like to tell to kind of bring reference to that, my dad had to put me on a plane and fly me home so that I could be home in time for 6th grade to start.
That's how 6th grade is like 11 years old.
Correct.
So how would you work and go to school at the same time?
Literally, I would get up in the morning, go to school. As soon as school was out, I'd be in the shop fabricating ductwork. And then when summer came, I would be on the road.
So you would stay wherever you were during the school year is where you were building necessarily, or you could come home and go to school?
During the school year, I was just at home. But Dad had his own fabrication shop. And so it wasn't just out on the project installing. It was also fabricating all the materials for these buildings.
Oh my goodness, at
Yeah.
11 years old.
Yeah.
That is something. Well, we're going to take just a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about your working at 11 years old and some of the ways that your faith was instilled.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So now you are working, you're at home during the summers, but then you're traveling around the summers and you're working, throughout the year. Tell me a little bit about, we talked some about the Scouts, and we know that was done through the LDS Church. I know that when I was coming up, my my aunt wanted to put my cousins in Scouts, and of course, we lived in Layton, so this is in the 1950s, the latter 50s, when my cousins got old enough to be in Scouting, and they went down to the church to enroll. And she talked to the lady, that whoever was there in the church, and the lady said that there was no room and the Scouts.
Wow.
And so then my aunt asked them, well, could you just put us on a waiting list? And the woman just looked at her with a blank face. And finally, a gentleman that was in the church came up and says, ma'am, we do not allow Negroes to be in Scouts, Negroes or non-Mormons. And her heart was broken because her boys wanted to be in Scouting so badly and be a part of all that Scouting means. And thank goodness, though, it didn't fall upon deaf ears. One of our dear friends, who was a teacher in the community, contacted the Boy Scouts, and we were able to get a Boy Scout troop that you didn't matter what color you were, didn't matter what religion that you were. Ruby Price, who was one of the first Black teacher in Davis County, started that whole thing. And so my cousins were able to get into Boy Scouts.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was. And so that leads me to, what were some of the things that you were taught, whether directly or indirectly, regarding the fact that you would go to church every Sunday, you wouldn't see a brown face. Now, that's not uncommon back then. Of course, there were lots of churches. As a matter of fact, Sundays are the most integrated time of the week, at churches all across the country. So it's not so uncommon that you wouldn't see a Black face in your church. But what were some of the things that you were taught about people that had darker skin, either taught or you just knew, based on the way that your parents behaved or things that they may have said?
It wasn't directly taught, but it was never corrected either. And so growing up in our household, it's not like racial slurs were discouraged. They weren't widely used, but at the same time, if one was to be used, there was no punishment for that, no correcting, no, hey, that's not right. And so subconsciously, yes, it was acceptable. I do remember at a young age, we did have a Black family move into our church. Exactly how they were treated or received, I'm not quite sure, because it really wasn't on my radar, as far as that I shouldn't talk to this individual for myself, right? But that's not to say that it wasn't always on the sidelines growing up. I know it was. And it wasn't until I got older that I recognized that there were things that took place that weren't acceptable.
And what were some of those things?
Well, just when you did come across people that were of any ethnicity, any color, race, it was just to avoid. It wasn't to be around. It wasn't to talk with or be accepting by any stretch, right? Now, to kind of elaborate on that, because we talked about my construction background a little bit, now that was more acceptable when I was on the job, right? But, that was just because you were rubbing shoulders with that individual building the chapel. And so I don't know, Eileen, that's pretty deep as far as how I recollect it, because I don't remember being that person that just hated to hate. But there was still an underlying layer there of it. So I can't deny the fact that that's how I was raised, because I was
Yes.
raised that way,
Mhm.
but it wasn't.
It was just something that you knew.
Yes. Yeah.
Without really even having to talk about it, you just knew. Now, did you, and I don't even know if you would have recognized this or not, but maybe you could still speak to it. Did you, or do you feel like your parents maybe feel a little bit of superiority simply because that was what was being portrayed, from your faith? So, for instance, in the Book of Mormon, and you can even speak to that, where it speaks of, whether you're, let's talk about the Lamanites a little bit, share with that, and share a little bit about that, and how that might just naturally make someone feel as though that they are superior.
Absolutely, yes. Direct descendants of Cain is how that was always voiced, that people of color came They were direct descendants of Cain because they were not good people.
And they weren't good people
basically
because
well, of course we were white, right? Well, naturally we're good people.
and as
I mean, I
it's
hate to put it like that, but that's kind
no,
of the
that's
attitude. I mean, it was pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's very sad.
and so just to clarify, Cain killed his brother Abel, and the LDS Church taught that because of that, God gave Cain the skin of blackness,
Correct.
and therefore that's who I'm a descendant of. So
Yes.
then that would mean then that I was cursed, right? And so in the Book of Mormon, it describes people who look like you as white and delightsome, and
Mhm.
people who look like me as filthy and loathsome.
Correct.
So if that's just something that, whether it is really taught or casually talked about, how could you not help but to feel as though you might be a little bit better? And and I get that if that's the way that you were. I mean, who wouldn't almost?
Well, I'll tell you that when you bring up casually taught, I believe that just about everything in that religion is casually taught, or rather programmed into you from a very young age.
So give me an idea of what you mean by the programming.
Oh, geez. Well, from their songs to everything else. I hope they call me on a mission. They're teaching you that song when you're a toddler. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. Come on now.
Okay, hello, my favorite Mormon song, just so that you know, Jesus Wants Me for a Sunbeam was my favorite because my friend across the street taught me that song that they would go to primary and Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam.
Beam.
That was my favorite song.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you that to elaborate on that as well. I guess one of the things that I remember very explicitly, that the kids, whether they were of color or not, if they were not a part of the church, we were discouraged to even talk to them. That wasn't anybody that any of our parents wanted us to hang out with. Ooh, don't hang out with little Johnny over there. His parents, they smoke, they drink. I mean, there was no gray area unless they thought that they could lure that child or that family into their fold and convert them. At that point, there was interest there. If they thought that they could drag them in, yeah, you bet.
And so, and now, what year? I'm trying to get an idea of the year that you know that you're around this age that you were recognizing that.
Oh, goodness.
In the
that would have
70s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so would this be before or after the priesthood banned?
That would have been about that. That would have been about the same time.
Around
I
that
mean,
time.
Well, yeah.
When you so they were a little bit more open to bringing Black people into the church after the priesthood banned.
Well, yeah, that was in what, 1978?
Yes,
Correct.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. Okay, all right.
Now,
So that makes
now
sense.
you can hold the priesthood.
Yes,
We've
yes.
decided it's okay.
That it's okay, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me because in my day, so in the 60s and 70s, nobody tried to. I was never invited to church. Nobody tried to convert us, at that time.
Huh.
But I do remember when the priesthood ban was rescinded. I got calls like you would not believe that it was time. That there I had friends that I adored that were telling me that I could be a part of the church now. I wasn't interested, but they were really, really excited. So I could see during that time there might have been a little bit of a push, from saying, well, if they'll come into the church, great, you can hang out with them. But if not, then no.
Well, I guess this is kind of a bold statement, but maybe they just didn't have enough buildings built back then. They had to wait until they had enough structures to invite some more people in.
And you guys were building them left and right. Bring them in, bring
yes,
them in. Yeah.
yes.
So, all right, Shawn. So now I can see how that could happen, where you would feel, as though you were a little bit more superior because that's just kind of how you're taught. I mean, you can't help it. They weren't shoving it down your throat necessarily, but your environment, everything that you saw was, quote, white and delightsome. And so if, people that were brown were, filthy and loathsome, why in the world would you hang around those types of people? And it is a command from God.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not going to mess with God.
No.
No, absolutely not. So give me an example, though, of when you may have kind of messed with God. You told me an example of when you were in California.
Goodness, so there was at a young age, honestly, I stopped fearing my maker. I was created in his image, so why would he want to hurt me?
Right.
Correct. But to talk about kind of that story I shared with you, Eileen, so I was in California working, and It was the weekends. We were out doing our laundry. When we worked on the road, we were gypsies. And so we stayed in a motorhome right on the job site. There was no hotels. There weren't restaurants. We did it as inexpensive as possible. So we're at this laundromat, and it was, I think, a Saturday night. We were down close to LA, and there was only a few people in that laundromat. And amongst those people, there was a black woman and her daughter. I caught eyes with her daughter, very attractive young lady, and I worked up the courage to go over and ask her if she wanted to go have some dinner and maybe catch a movie with me. The response from both ends, and naturally, I can understand her mom reacting the way she did.
Some stranger guy.
Yes. But I do remember that when I walked out, my dad looked at me and he said, "Would you really have taken her out?" And I do remember that was just a disgusting question. I didn't really comment much or elaborate with him. But I do remember it didn't set well in my stomach that he would have asked me that, and wondered why, really. I mean, I just wondered why.
And so you were at an age, I would imagine, about 16, 17 years old. You probably didn't talk back much to your father or anything like that. Disrespect him in any way to even ask him.
There were times that, naturally, I was raised to respect your elders on any level. But I also recognized at a young age that I can't believe I'm going to say this, but you can't teach stupid. Really.
And that's how you were starting to feel.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's certain subjects to this day that I have to lay down boundaries for with my parents, that no, we don't talk about this because I don't feel the same way, nor those days are over.
Yes.
And
so better to just not talk about it all than to have any family disruption.
It's just, they're of that age now that, I definitely have the ability that I could go in and tongue lash them about what it is that I feel like they could have improved in their life. It's kind of that ship has sailed.
Sure,
is my attitude.
I get it.
I mean, I don't see accomplishing anything with certain conversations with them any longer.
Right.
And so on certain levels, I still speak with them because I can. They're alive. They're my parents. I love them.
Of course.
But I also recognize, and to a certain extent, it's very disturbing that we are in this day and age and looking back and wondering why certain things weren't learned.
I understand.
Or they could have done it different.
Yes.
When you know better, you do better.
That's correct.
That'd be awesome if that comment held mud for every aspect of life.
Yes, I understand 100%. And I think probably what's most important in this particular case is that you found out something different and you did better. And therefore you were able then to pass it on to your children, and certainly they will to theirs. So somebody in the family, you broke the chain, which is great.
I have to give kudos to my wife when it comes to a lot of that. So she was a huge guru for helping me change on a lot of different levels in life. And that is because of who she was raised by. Her mom was probably the only Mormon, Catholic, Jew, Protestant I've ever met in my life. She didn't care what religion she was a part of. She just kind of supported them all, and very kind heart. So yes, Renee helped me kick a lot of some really ugly things to the curb as we've been together.
Kudos to Renee.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love Renee. So as you began to not ever question God, according to the, to your LDS teachings, you had to have felt that there was just something. How could this God even feel some of these things that I see that are going on around me? And you decided to move forward with whatever thoughts that you were having, and at some point began to question your faith.
I have to, I guess the best way I could put that is that through my travels, knowing what they taught, that unless you're a part of this faith, you're not going to the kingdom of heaven. I've met so many great people throughout my walks of life. Yeah, I can't believe that. I just couldn't buy that. One of the other things that shook the very ground that I stood on as far as that religion went, that faith went, is that I seen their inner workings. I built their buildings. I seen how they do business. I've seen how I've seen contractors and many lives destroyed because of how stringent their policies are for building their buildings. Their spec books read much like the Bible, and unless you know how to read a Bible, you're buying into a contract that's innately going to put you out of business. And I watched it happen time and time again.
So it began to make you question.
Oh yes,
but you weren't for sure. Yeah, you're still in there, and I'm making the best contribution that you can. What was your next step? What hadn't you done yet that you needed to do for the church that you've been taught forever?
I had fallen away for a little bit in my early and later teenage years, and then I came to a decision that I decided that I was going to go on a mission and go figure out if this was for me.
Okay.
And so I decided to jump in 100%. And I got called to a Mormon mission where I started out in Connecticut and also shared a territory in upstate New York.
And this is where you began then to have opportunities to be with lots of different types of people.
Oh, yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Different faiths, different colors, different cultures. Share a little bit about that and what that was like for you.
So I'll just give you a condensed version of this. So when you go out on your mission, you go to the president's house and you spend 3 nights there, and supposedly he prays to God about who it is that you're supposed to be twinned up with. And I remember looking around at all these young men and these elders that had just got called to their mission, and I remember thinking to myself, please, dear God, don't pick Elder Paul. That's who I got teamed up with, Elder Paul. Anyway, so this particular individual drove me bananas, but I was there to figure out one thing, and so I really didn't care who I was twinned up with at the end of the day, who my companion was. But one of the things that I did every Sunday, because I was on a mission where we had a car, and so
no bikes.
No, not on this one because of our territory. Okay. We traveled a lot.
Okay.
We would get up Sunday morning. I would kick him out of bed because one of the rules is you can't go anywhere without your companion. So I'd kick him out of bed and I'd make him go to as many different sects out there as I possibly could. We would go to the Holy Rollers. We would go all over the place, and I would walk into these massive churches in New York and walk right in with my name tag on. I would introduce myself to the pastor, and when the congregation was singing and dancing and getting up and celebrating, I was right there along with them. I was right there.
Were you singing and dancing?
Oh, I absolutely would.
Love it. I love it. Having a good time, because that's certainly not what it's like.
It was really
going
great.
to
that's what
sacrament.
Isn't that what a mission's all about?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Finding out about different people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with that, we're going to hold there for just a second, and we're going to come back and learn more about that, and then what happens next.
Sounds good.
Okay. So you're with the holiest of rollers, yes. And would this be predominantly African American church?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Having a good time. See, that is one thing. When you go to a traditional African American church, regardless of what denomination it might be, it could be Baptist, it could be AME Methodist, it could be Pentecostal, definitely the Pentecostal, but you are going to shout and you're going to praise God and you're going to let the pastor know that you appreciate what he is saying. And I can remember the first time that I'd ever been to an LDS church, I was so excited to go because I just thought, gosh, this is the church, right? Because it made it sound like it was the only one, it was the right one. And so I go and I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is fine. But everyone's just kind of sitting there. And then this lady stood up and she was crying and saying, talking about how Joseph Smith was, the founder and how much she loved him and everything. And I can remember going, okay, so when are we going to talk about Jesus? Because there was a lot going on about that. Now, remember, I'm a 60s, 70s baby or child. And so I know that it's a little bit different now, but then I was just kind of waiting, I was waiting for somebody to do something, say, amen, pastor, or, and we didn't, and we were excused. And I just thought, oh, this is different, so I can imagine for you to go to an African-American church where we are, it's a party for God. That's for sure.
You're absolutely right. It was an eye opener, and it was really great to experience and watch the celebration and everybody getting involved. And yes, it was something to behold for sure.
So in the back of your mind, where you may not have said these words, cursed? Like, now wait, what?
No, honestly, no, I didn't. As a matter of fact, when we walked in, I do remember being noticed for sure.
Yes.
We had the Mormon missionaries in the house.
Right, and you were white.
And, oh, yes. But the pastor made it a point to call us out and welcome us. We have the Mormon missionaries here. Say hallelujah. And, it was a beautiful thing. And I do remember that my companion just kind of, if the ground could have opened up at his will and swallowed him, I know it would have on many different occasions while I was dragging him around into all these different churches.
And what made you feel like you wanted to do that, to go and see the other side, to see another kind of life than what you were used to?
Well, because that was the whole reason I went on my mission, was to find out if this was for me. And so to go out and see all the other religions out there and go experience and be a part of their service, that was the best way for me to experience that. So
that's great. And to see that they were feeling the Spirit too, when you'd been taught basically all of your life that only the LDS people feel the Spirit, right? So to see these people having their own way to worship.
You brought up a real important point, that in church growing up with the Mormons, no, there's no celebrating. And yeah, all they do is talk about Joseph Smith, and he's the only true prophet. And I love my mommy and daddy, and I know this church is true. And it's just so repetitive. It is so scripted. I wished I could say it different, but really, I mean, it's totally different than what I experienced when
you actually went out there.
And they were celebrating exactly the way you said it. They were celebrating God, God, not anybody else. God,
not a leader of a church or something like that. So what other faiths what other churches did you go to? What other kind of people were you exposed to that you hadn't been?
Oh, shoot. There were so many. I don't recall all of them. I just know that I would probably go to 2 to 3 different religions every Sunday that I was there. I made it about 3 months into my mission, and I was done. There's more to this story that would probably take up too much time. I'll give you the quick version of that as well. I was very close to my older brother when I left. He made it very clear that he was not going to write, knew it was against the rules for us to have phone conversations, but said that if we're going to continue to stay in touch, this is the only way I'm going to do it with you. So call me once a month. I'll pick up the phone. I knew I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did it anyway. My companion interrupted a few of those phone calls, which I shouldn't have been having. Fair enough. I should not have been having, but it was a part of my sanity while I was out there. He was a part of that voice of reason. He was something that kept my head about me. And I do remember telling my companion that if he ever interrupted one of those conversations again, I was going to have my way with him. He did. I did. And after that incident, I got sent to the president of that mission. And he said, Shawn, I think maybe what we ought to do is take you out of proselyting, but allow you to do this just a couple days a week, and we're going to make you our mission mechanic.
Oh.
So I'm going to be the guy that just travels around and does oil changes and services their cars.
Oh.
And my response to him was, I didn't come out here to find God in a carburetor.
Oh.
So I said, get me a ticket.
Wowza. But you had pretty much made up your mind probably even before the
I
call.
I was done at that point.
Yeah.
And it was at that point too that I was strong-armed. And he said, well, the companions that left when you got here, they actually used the other half of the round trip ticket that your folks had purchased. So if you're leaving, you're going to have to find your own way home. And I did notify the president of that mission that that's no problem. I'd already traveled the globe. I'd seen things that a lot of kids my age never have experienced. It didn't intimidate me. So I let him know that no problem. I'll pack my bags. I'm going to hitchhike home from New York. And if I don't make it, it's on your shoulders. The next morning I had a plane ticket.
Oh.
And I went home.
Oh.
Yeah. And that was it. Done. And I never looked back. No.
So what would you say to anyone that might be listening that they're hesitant to reach out and to allow themselves, and I always say the opportunity, to know others who are not like themselves? what would you recommend to them to change that pattern and the beauty of what it can mean in their life to open up to others who are not like them?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're just, every one of us are just people. It doesn't matter where we come from, what we look like. We are all experiencing this life together. The more you can be accepting of the individuals that are around you, know that maybe you don't know their circumstances. Maybe you don't know what they're going through in life. So get out of your own way and allow them to do what they're going to do. So maybe you had a bad experience with this certain individual. It's not about you. It was about them.
Mm-hmm.
So open your heart, move forward in life, be more loving, be more forgiving. Let people know that you care. That doesn't mean go out and try and save the world. I mean, if you got the ability, by all means, go do it.
That too.
Yeah, do that. But there's just so much hate everywhere we go, and it gets narrowed down to some of the most stupid things. Color, come on, we're going to judge somebody from the color of their skin.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to judge somebody for, it doesn't matter what it is. I guess the key there is judge, and I don't believe that any of us are in that position. Even those who claim to be, you're not. We can just be a lot more kind to each other, especially in this day and age. I mean, look around at what's going on. That
it's crazy.
It's so upset. I mean, back when you talk about your childhood, even
mm-hmm.
I remember late 60s, the early 70s, especially in the 70s, the world was in a pretty calm place.
Yeah, it seems like we were making progress.
There wasn't a whole lot happening, and it was all apple pie and peaches and cream for a lot of us. But looking around after looking back, it wasn't like that for everybody.
No, it was not.
And we have a long ways to go.
I will say that I did see some things moving. I saw some positive things happening as we, of course, civil rights, and then we get to the 60s and the 70s, and, things were just, progressing slowly, but progressing. And, that I would never even imagined that it would be 2025 and we're still having issues. And I guess we always will, but to have issues with race and, one race thinking that they're better than another race, or one religion thinking that they're better than another. I just thought that we would get beyond that, because I felt that my generation was working towards that, only to find that that's not necessarily the case. And so we're going to keep working to move kindness forward.
Yes.
And that is the reason why I started this podcast, and do everything that we can do to eliminate hate. And Shawn, you are one of those individuals that are helping us to do that with the intentional kindness that you show on a day-to-day. We just need more people like you. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your story, not to pounce on anybody, but just to show that we all were made in God's image, and we all should work together and be kind to each other. And you have definitely shared that with us today, and I thank you for it.
Thanks, Eileen.
And I also want to thank everyone for being here today, and like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
That's right. So we can keep this going.
Let's give it. It's a great cause. Push it forward. It's a great show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Eileen.
Mm-hmm.